Hi everybody, my name's Scott Hillier, independent film director and president of ÉCU, the European Independent Film Festival, as well as the All Asian, the All African and the All Americas Independent Film Festivals, which we'll talk about later. But today we're talking about French comedy. Now, comedy is inherently linked to French comedy, to French cinema. It began in the era of silent film with visual techniques such as slapstick and burlesque, which was later popularized internationally. Comedy evolved drastically after the addition of sound to cinema and the seismic changes to French society after World War II. Since then, French comedy films regularly revolve around themes of social dilemma and cultural shock, often following a buddy pair. Today it makes uses of word plays, which often do not translate to other languages, making it stylistically and uniquely French. Today we're joined by Olivier Doran, an actor, director, screenwriter and animator, born, raised and based in Paris. He now teaches screenwriting and directing at Université Gustave-Eiffel. The majority of Olivier's work has been in French comedic cinema, and we're very pleased to have the opportunity to discuss it further with him. Hi Olivier, welcome to ÉCU Friday Live.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So French comedy, wow, I can't wait to delve into this subject, but why don't we talk a little bit about you? Tell us a bit about your journey up to this point.
Well, as I said previously, I made four comedies. Well, the problem in France is even if you want to change your style, if you want to do something else, thrillers or dramas, it doesn't work this way. We have labels and stickers on our forehead. So I'm condemned to do comedies until my last breath, I think. But first, I was working on television and then on radio. And then I wanted to become an actor and a director. And I was very lucky because I succeeded in doing that.
What you talked about labels and boxes, and I find French. I love France, which is why I live here. But I do understand the boxes and the labels. They believe very strongly in them. It's hard to get out.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, are there good comedies in France at the moment? Is the genre alive and kicking, shall we say?
Yeah, the genre is really alive and kicking. And I'd say it's the most successful genre in France. The profits are better in the comedies than in other genres. Although we had Anatomie d'une chute, Anatomy of a Fall, that was worldly successful. But the main genre in France is comedy.
So, well, let's jump down that path for a second. I mean, I've written a few comedy sketches as well. They're deliberately and very, very demanding and difficult to do. You don't laugh very often writing a comedy film. How do you go through the process? What's your process?
Well, you're right. It's very difficult and demanding genre because comedy is splitting the society in two parts. You never know whether people are going to laugh at what makes you laugh. So that's the main problem. It's really it's an anguish. Once you have an idea, you find it hilarious. You write it down, you find it funny. You read it, and you just wonder, are people going to laugh or not? So you have to be confident and to stick on what makes you laugh, and that's it. And after that, it's a bet.
Well, what's your technique? Do you find yourself telling members of the family, your friends, do you go to a bar and try and tell jokes to get the biggest laugh and then go from there?
Well, first I try. I never write alone because that's very dangerous. So my co-writer is my first reader, And if I say something or have an idea that makes them laugh, I can hope that we are two. Supposedly, it could be universal. And after that, yes, I give the script to read to my daughters, to my wife, to my friends, and I get all their advices and thoughts, and I keep some and I reject some.
My daughter continuously thinks that I'm very unfunny, so I would probably not throw it in her direction. She hasn't laughed at one of my jokes in 20 years, but well, sometimes she does if she's trying to
Well,
make me feel good. Very quickly, do you have any sort of films that inspired you when you were growing up? You know, French or international comedies that sort of gave you some clues to say, ah, this is what I want to do.
yeah, mostly American and British movies. Not only in the American movies I loved and that inspired me, there is Tootsie, which for me is one of the best comedy ever. Um, I liked also movies by Frank Capra, Ernst Lubitsch. I liked very much the first comedies by Woody Allen. I know it's a touchy subject nowadays, but I don't know anything beside the quality of the movies. In France, there is one movie that I love, which is called Ridicule by Patrice Lecomte. It's a great comedy. I love the James Bond. The comedy is
Well, I think in the late 80s and 90s, I think that the screenwriting, I think they weren't even trying to be funny, and they sort of made it funny in some manner or form. But here's a question for you. You know, you write and you direct, and I think that we can talk about people like Robin Williams and people like that, and I wonder for the young people out there now dreaming of writing a fabulous comedy script, because it's not just the script, is it? So it's like any film, it's the actors. But I mean, can a good actor make pretty ordinary jokes and screenwriting? Can they actually own it more? Is that something that they should be aware of, be careful of, particularly when you're casting? Because you have to hire somebody who can do comedy. If you've got a good script, it might be easy. If you've got a bad script, it might be harder. What's your thoughts on that?
well. I don't know really, because I've often said that I want good actors first. The comedy is supposed to be in the script. It's what we have written. It's not in the way the actors play. And on the other hand, it is true that some have what we call vis comica, Latin. They understand comedy instinctively. And others, it's quite different. But I like to mix the type of actors I cast in my comedies. I like to have some actors that are really specialized in comedy, and others coming from theater or serious movies. And the encounter between the two of them can produce something magical.
I mean, I think to actors like Robin Williams, of course. I mean, I think that's a stratosphere apart of away
Yeah.
from what we're doing. But I mean, from what I understand and the things that I've seen and read about him, he could take any material and he just owned it and made it better. So I guess that's one thing. But I'm going to jump into something slightly different. I'm going to talk. You're in addition to being a screenwriter and a director, you're also teaching. And I'm just wondering, we've been in this, you and I have been in this for a while, we're veterans. I've definitely seen the way of making films has changed, and writing and whatever, but I'm just wondering, in the days of, wokeism, as we will call it, is it changing the way that comedy, because comedy is all about pushing boundaries. You know, it's always, it's just a joke. But it's become a little bit more difficult these days, I find, in general society, to make a joke. Is that what you're finding from your younger students?
Not really. We didn't have this problem. But the thing is about wokeism. I was friend with someone called Jean-Pierre Bacry and Agnès Jaoui, who made huge successful comedies and really talented. And I remember Jean-Pierre telling me, it is not true that you can't say jokes anymore. The thing is, now you have to say jokes about people who have power. And it's more difficult to make jokes about people who have power than making jokes about people who are in minority or don't have power. Jokes about women, jokes about homosexuals, jokes about immigrants. That was very easy to do because those categories, women, it's kind of specific, but those categories were not empowered. So it was very simple and low to make jokes about them. What I like is really when people make jokes about people who have power. That's more interesting.
Well, it's a style of intellectual comedy versus lower cheap grade comedy. I mean, I've listened to some extremely low comedy coming out of the States at the moment. It can be deemed really funny, but you can't laugh basically. So I agree with the fact of, you know, clever comedy is good, but I don't worry about it because it's not my place to worry, but I do sense a certain amount of, oh, you can't say that, you can't say this, whereas it's comedy is a very interesting testing ground, I think, for that type of stuff. You know, we know what we can say in the New York Times, but you don't know what you can say in a comedy club anymore. We're going to go shortly into a question and answer session with with the ÉCU crew here. I'm just wondering, you know, that's the thing about, you know, French comedy. I've lived here for a long time, and I love the Les Dîners des Cons, which, you know, a million years ago I thought it was funny. Have you seen a successful transition across to the Anglo-Saxon world of a French comedy that really worked? Just while you think about that, I'll say, because, you know, a lot of people in France love the English sense of humor.
Yeah.
Very, you know, self-deprecating, dry, you know, sometimes very, very clever. They like that type of thing. So I can see that, you know, Monty Python, all those type of things came across to France quite easily. Fawlty Towers, that type of stuff came across very easily. But I don't see many transitions the other way. You know, the English have trouble with the French in general, but, you know, I've never seen a English person say, well, that was a fabulous French comedy.
Well, Agnès Jaoui, with her first movie, Le Goût des Autres, The Taste of Others, I remember that she was quite successful in UK. I don't know whether she went to the United States or not, but I know the British kind of really loved this film, but generally, no, it's quite rare to have, we export poorly our comedies. And I can understand that because sense of humor is quite different. It's very cultural. So on the other hand, we love British comedies and American comedies. So maybe we have a problem in France. Since we are all the kids of Molière, we are convinced that we are the best. So we don't even try to be universal in the way we write and make comedies. It's very Frenchy.
I could not agree more about the Frenchy. So maybe your task now is to write us a French international comedy that's going to blow everybody out of their seats?
Well, my last movie was a remake from a Swedish movie that had been remade in Germany, and the general tone and the story was very, very Anglo-Saxon, and unfortunately, it was a flop.
Yeah, no, that's well, as we all know, the difference between a success and a flop is just intangible. We just
Originally, it was
we
a
never
Swedish
can make
comedy,
it.
and it was
But I'm what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this over to Rodrigo, the festival coordinator, who makes things good and great out of everything, and he's going to have a little question and answer session with some of the ÉCU crew. So I'm handing this over to Rodrigo.
So thank you very much, Olivier, for joining us today. Our first question actually comes from our intern, Amber.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to ask the question, coming from an American perspective, and you being a French, what differentiates French comedies from other European or American comedies?
Ooh, hard question. Well, as I said previously, most of the French comedy don't even try to reach on the other side of our borders. We think we are so funny. Why do we bother to make people laugh in other countries? They are so different. They are so weird. We don't understand them. So who gives the? You see what I mean? Where British comedies and American comedies, you really feel a sense of what we are saying, what we are telling, the stories that we are writing have a vocation for being universal. Every country can understand a gag. No, you don't say a gag in English. A gag is in French. A gag is, oh, it's so funny. Good. So I think it's the main difference. We are not trying to make our gags working in the other countries. We just don't care about that, and it's a pity.
Perfect. Thank you. Our next question comes from Elia.
Hello. I hope you hear me good. My question is, which genre of movie would you do if it was not comedy? Which is more appealing for you?
I didn't hear you properly. We have a train passing.
Okay, it's all right. I wanted to ask, which genre of movie would you do if it was not for comedy? Which is the most appealing for you after comedy?
If I heard you well, you're asking me what I would like to do after comedies?
Like if you were forbidden to do comedy, which genre would you go for? Like horror movies or thrillers, or which genre is the most appealing after that for you?
I wrote a thriller, and the thing is, I saw 3 producers, and each one told me, but it could be a good comedy, couldn't it? And I said, no. I want it to be a thriller, an action thriller, please. Yeah, but it could be an action comedy. I don't know what I would like to do when you do this job, because it is a job. It is mainly because you don't want to do the same thing every time, every day. So I made 4 comedies, and no, I'd like to explore other genres, whether how do you say, policier, police movie,
Mhm.
or thriller, or an action movie, whatever is different from comedy. But I still love comedy. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong.
Thank you.
Hello, Olivier. I hope you're all right.
Thank you. I am.
So my question is, I understand you worked then as an actor in La Cité de la Peur,
Yeah, I
which
did.
nowadays is a French classic. I would
It-
like to know if it's possible, if you could talk a little bit about the experience, especially how did it go after it became a French classic?
Well, it's kind of funny because actually Les Nuls, which is the group of comics, not comics, of comedians that made the movie, we worked together in a big radio in France, and they were in the office across the hall from my office. So we became friends, and since previously I was hosting TV shows, they asked me if I could do the présentateur en haut des marches du Festival de Cannes. So it was more like a friendly participation than a real role. But the film had an incredible success. And the thing is, I was directing my last movie. I was in Luxembourg, and at the end of the last day of shooting, in the lobby of the hotel, all the actors from my movie were gathered with the luggages and everything. And 5 minutes before we left, I went back to my room because I had forgotten one bag. And a young woman from the hotel took the elevator with me. And she was very shy, and she said, excuse me, could I ask something to you? And I said, I thought she's gonna ask, can she ask for autographs to the actors, which were really famous and very good actors? I said, yes, what do you want? And she said, are you not the guy that was in La Cité de la Peur with the famous line, et revoilà la sous-préfète? I was amazed. I mean, this line could be engraved on my tombstone, I think. Everybody talks about it to me. And my character was appearing for, I don't know, 2 minutes. It's nothing in the movie. It's not central. But I don't know why this part, this line, is world famous now. Well, French world famous.
I feel that the lines of this movie are now part of French culture and French day-to-day comedy. Right?
Yeah, they became classics. They are.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then the last question comes actually from me. What do you do to keep in touch with the modern comedy? Now we know that for everybody it's generational, but what do you try to do? What do you recommend other filmmakers that are trying to do comedy to do in order to keep up with the comedy sense of the world, and if not of France?
Well, I'm a fan of John Truby. I don't know if you heard about him. And I believe, although comedy is cultural and generational, the basics of comedy are the same. So when I go see a comedy in the theaters, what I watch closely is not, is it from my generation or not? What is it talking about? It is the construction. It's mechanical. Comedy is mechanical firsthand, and then you put other layers, but you have to understand how it works. So whether it's made by a young 25 years old director or by a 60 years old director, what interests me is how does it work? Is it nicely done?
That was great. I mean, I love the idea of it being, making it right and good. But is there, we'll sign off here in a second, but is there any sort of immediate advice that you could give to somebody who's going to sit down and say, I'm going to write a comedy film. It's going to be the best damn comedy film in the world. How does one attack that process?
It has to make you laugh. Make yourself laugh. It's a good start. If it doesn't make you laugh, the chances are it won't make anybody laugh. So be confident and good luck.
I love that. And if you can make my daughter laugh, any of my jokes will be fine. Excellent. Okay, Olivier, it's great talking to you. I'd like to thank Emily, who's probably just off to your side. Thank you very much for setting this up, Emily. ÉCU, the European Independent Film Festival. Olivier, we want to see you there. It's on the 19th, 20th and 21st of April. Please come along. Please bring your students. We've got some comedic films in the festival, but I will have to say this, and just before I do our closing, over the last few years, after COVID we had some, but just recently it's very interesting to run several film festivals as we do. It's very interesting. We gauge society very well just by the films that get sent to us every year. And I have to say, and we're a global organization. We get films from every part of the world. Over the last few years, it's been very, very difficult to find funny films. It's as if there's sort of some weird malaise that is just not making people make funny films at the independent level, and it's very interesting. I mean, I'm sure it's going to change. I mean, last year we had 2 films about cannibalism, so who knows what's going to happen? But I just wonder. Well, that's more of an observation, I guess. It's just the fact that there are less comedy films being submitted to us, and I hope that's not a general malaise of society, which will be around for much longer. But please come along to the festival. It's on the 19th, 20th and 21st of April here in central Paris. And I guess to everybody out there who's watching or listening to this, we'll be screening 53 of the world's best independent films over that weekend, followed by question and answer sessions, but most importantly followed by great networking after parties where we have musicians, film directors, people like that, because a lot of people's futures and whatever have been made from those events. As we all know, networking and drinking and listening to live music is a good thing. So that's ÉCU, 19th, 20th and 21st of April. We're also starting this year the All African Independent Film Festival, which will be happening on the first week of September in Kigali, Rwanda. And then we're following that up with the All Asian in Cambodia in October this year. So there's a lot of independent film festivals making coming out of this office at the moment. We invite you to join all of them, either virtually or in person. Some of the films that we're getting for the African Festival, the independent film scene in Africa, not many people know about it. I surely didn't, but we're starting to see some very good films coming in, and we can't wait to share them with the rest of the world. So again, Olivier, thank you very much. We'll see you in April. I'd like to thank all of the ÉCU crew for setting this, Rodrigo for making this happen. Everybody have a great Easter weekend, and we'll see you again on another ÉCU Friday Live. Ciao, ciao.